I got some news and it was not the outcome I expected. And then I learned the bitterness. The bitterness that I experienced was actually bitterness to God. Acts 8:23. For I see that you are full of bitterness and captive to sin. God gave me this word, and I remember when He gave it to me, it was at a time that things were very positive. I was expecting some news, and it seemed to be going in a positive direction. And I got that, and I thought, that's interesting. I don't feel bitterness to anyone. And I thought, okay, so if I don't feel bitterness to anyone, then what does this mean? What are you trying to tell me, Lord? What are you teaching me? So I will say that there were a couple other things that came through about bitterness that week. I got it in as part of a message on one. I was reading another book, Book of Job, and it had some bitterness pieces through there. And I thought, okay, so God is definitely reaching me on something for bitterness. So I went on, and later that week I got some news, and it was not the outcome I expected. And then I learned the bitterness. The bitterness that I experienced was actually bitterness to God. Then you think, oh no, how do you deal with this? So if you feel hurt or you have bitterness to God, what do you do? In Job, it really made me think, like when I was going through some things, especially recently, that it's okay not to be happy with God. It's okay not to agree with the idea that things might be too slow. Things might be not going in the outcomes you hoped for. Your dream really hasn't come to fruition yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to, or that it's not the best for you. Because I do know this much, that regardless of the outcomes of what happens or what we go through, that God has the best for you. In my journey, which I'll talk about more in detail in another time, but I got to a point where I ran from God. So there was a time that I was going through some things, and instead of pressing forward to Him, I did the opposite, like a lot of people might do, and that maybe don't believe or used to believe, and now they're fighting with it. But that was something that happened to me. So when I was coming through, I was like, okay, so here I am experiencing this, and I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? And that's one thing that's so wonderful about God, that when He puts you through things and has you grow, He's showing you, and He's really getting you to the next step. And I will say that I had no idea, and I've been on my journey for a few years, and I just thought I wouldn't have guessed that. But that sometimes of the things that we go through, because we even experienced things in the past, and maybe we don't know that there's still things that we're dealing with, or that things come up, or you don't know that, like, maybe you habitually do something, and then all of a sudden it comes to light to you. And so I thought, wow, that was pretty incredible. After all this time, we still learn the story of Job. So His purpose is to show us that when we go through trials and tribulations of this world, and when we get things happening to us, and how Satan attacks us, because he absolutely will, that we can keep our faith, that we can stay in it, that we can stay committed and dedicated to God no matter what, because we trust God. I trust God, and I choose Jesus. And I think that's so important, because it is a choice to choose Jesus. That's the ultimate of free will. So we choose Jesus to come into our hearts. So then, of course, we choose Jesus when things go through troubles. Like, we choose Jesus, and we believe that God's best for us, whatever it is, whether we have to go through something or we get to surpass something. But regardless, we have to believe that it's perfect for God's plan, and that we're learning from it, or we're growing through it, we're gaining spiritual maturity, whatever it might be. I know this much, that I have lived part of my life as a non-believer, and I have lived as a believer. And regardless of the outcome, I will choose Jesus every single time because I know that I trust him, I trust his plans, and I know that his plans and what he does for me is best and better than anything I could imagine.